Hi, Laura.
Hi. How are you?
Good.
I don't wear the name tag. Uh-oh. I think this is fading. Do you want this?
Yeah, if you don't
Just pass
mind.
it. I'll just do this. Do I need to sign this? Okay. Yeah. Ms. Rowe, do you remember if she passed around the thing in the office? Did board members sign the documents? Okay. Yeah. There's more too, so. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good evening, everyone. We'll start executive session at 6:11. Sorry for being a few minutes late. Executive session, yes. We are going to start with our mission statement, and Sarah Adams, one of our parents, and also Tina Fieldy for GCSA's graduate program, is going to share with us a little bit of her experiences in that role.
Yes. Hey, everybody. Let's see. I'm going to sit down. I don't like to be in front of people. This is not my thing, but so I'm going to stay seated. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Sarah Adams. I'm the Tina Field Lead for the GCSA's Grassroots Advocacy Program, which sounds a little intimidating, to be honest, because I've spent the last 15 years being a wife to my husband, Jeff, who's in the military, and mom to Celia and Grant. Celia's in 4th here at TEMA and Grant's in 2nd. And then I work as an anesthetist for a group that does anesthesia at St. Joseph's, Candler, and a couple different surgery centers around town. So, I thought I'd said goodbye to PowerPoint presentations and speaking publicly long ago, but here I am. And I'm happy to be here. I will say that, and it's for a good cause. So I ended up here because in the fall, when we were, going through a charter renewal process, and of course it was at risk of not being renewed. So I called Mr. Ulriker, emailed him, and I said, what can I do to help and be an advocate? And so he directed me to Laura, and she pointed me to the Georgia Charter School Association's Charter School Champion Program. And so the purpose of the program is basically just to train anybody, parents, stakeholders, y'all, to be charter school advocates within our communities, with the end goals basically of just increasing support for charter schools, ensuring that our voices are heard among key decision makers, and paving the way for passage of policy priorities, which we'll hear more about later. So I'm just going to give you a brief Cliff Notes version of the program that I did. It was very quick and easy. But basically, they just want us to identify our elected officials, specifically the Savannah-Chatham County Public School System, Board of Education members. Obviously, they make the decisions that directly impact charter schools, whether to keep us open or closed, as you all know. They're directly accountable for making these decisions in the best interest of our children, and obviously they're most accessible to us. So it's important that we show them that we are an active constituency, that the parents of students at charter schools, that we are present and want to be heard, have our voices heard. So we want them to know that we're grateful to them as a school system in supporting charter schools, specifically TEMA. Where we have, we've been given basically an alternative option for educating our children in the by attending a charter school. So we also need to know the facts about charter schools, which all of us know this, but I've been surprised that the general public does not typically know that charter schools are public schools that are tuition free. As you all know, that we receive less funding. Generally, it's 25% less per student, and we are accountable to higher standards than the regular public school system. They want us to know the facts about TIMA. Laura has printed out, I think it's in your folders, these pamphlets. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at them before now, but basically just telling the facts about TIMA. It's just I think this will be a great thing to hand out to people who don't know anything about TIMA, people who we might be wanting to be, future stakeholders or for future parents. Just great key points here about the school, and I'll let y'all read through all that later. So obviously we need to engage the community and be visible. We need to get face time with our intended audience, whether that's the Board of Education or future stakeholders or community members, people that are community partners. We can be on social media, which I think Ms. Jennifer has done a fantastic job of posting positive stories to promote TIMA on social media. We can, as parents and governing board members, whomever, we can share those posts from TIMA. They said use hashtags. It makes me think of the news story that was just recently on the news about the TIMA rock band when they went to go see Journey. Stuff like that. It's so positive, so encouraging just to see the students themselves speak about the school. So things like that, I think, would be more of that. It's great. Let's see. And then we can obviously share our story. We can write a newspaper, blog post, however we feel. And then we can tell our own personal story. I think, we can often be overwhelmed. I know I can by the task at hand sometimes. And, we wonder, can we really make a difference just in and of ourselves? But we can. I think one person can absolutely make a difference, but we're obviously better together. And they wanted us to all know that our voices do matter, and they are often the most compelling, more than data alone. The stories from parents, from students mean a lot. So actually, let me go back to this real quick. I know it sounds a little cheesy, but I was driving here and I thought, I'm going to kind of read what I thought. I do believe that TIMA will speak for itself. I'm not one to boast. I don't like to call attention to myself, but, I think TIMA is boast-worthy, let's put it that way. So I wrote, much like a lighthouse is a signal to guidance, is a signal of guidance to ships. I see TIMA as an educational beacon, leading and guiding other educators and schools to reimagine education for the benefit of all. What the incredibly dedicated staff, students, and community are doing here at TIMA is exciting and encouraging, not only for TIMA as a whole, but for all of Savannah-Chatham County Public School System and abroad. And we have so much to be thankful for and proud of, and it's too easy not to share what's going on here within the community. So again, like I was saying, I'm not one to boast, and this is what I was thinking about in the car on the way here. I thought of the little song that we all know. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. And, I think when you have something that is going to benefit all, not just yourself, but it's going to benefit our students, it's gonna benefit our school, our community, but hopefully all of Savannah. I'm hopeful that TIMA, like I said, I see it kind of as a beacon and, leading the way to new education, or however you want to term it. But, that is worthy to boast over and to share with others. So think of us as advocates, as the fuel to that little flame, to your little light that you're shining. It helps to talk about it. It helps us to grow more and to expand and to do more good for the students by just talking about it. So creating your own elevator pitch, they kind of taught us how to do this and talked about it. As you all probably know, an elevator pitch is just a 30 to 60-second way to introduce yourself or an idea that can be communicated in the time that you're in an elevator with somebody else. So, just be brief and personal. You want to share an experience that led you to enroll your child at TIMA or to teach at TIMA or serve on the governing board, however you're involved. You can define a specific story that showcases the education children receive at TIMA. And then you explain your problem or solution, whatever value or benefit that you're trying to get across to them in just a few words. So these strategic goals and financial considerations, I included those on there. Those are pulled from what Laura put in the little pamphlet. But those would just be some of the things that we might be asking for, basically. Do y'all want to hear my pitch? My elevator pitch? Okay. Okay, and I'm going to read it because otherwise I'll be all over the place. Okay, so I said, hi, my name is Sarah Adams, and my husband and I have 2 children attending the Tybee Island Maritime Academy. Just last week, our 8-year-old son told me, he said, Mom, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just being honest. He said, I kind of like being at school more than I like being at home. I mean, what an education. I am so grateful that Savannah-Chatham County Public School System offers this type of high-quality transformative education in the form of a charter school. Our children are thriving. With smaller student-to-teacher ratios, they are receiving a more personalized education to meet their individual needs. And furthermore, with emphasis on a STEAM and project-based curriculum, learning is stimulating and fun for them. The children are learning to collaborate respectfully with their peers and applying what they've learned to think critically and creatively to solve problems and make a difference in their own coastal community. This type of learning excites and empowers them to believe that they have purpose and that their contributions matter. We are so grateful for all that TIMA has offered to our family. And so that might be something I might lead into, and then depending on my targeted audience, I could go into the other goals and financial considerations. Okay, so next steps for us and for me, I guess, is our.
Oh, by the way, that was very good.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
If you were wondering, that was really
Thank you. I won't read it to the next person, though.
An elevator with about 10 or 12 floors.
Yes, it was a little wordy. I know it was.
No.
So the next steps, we want to establish like a TIMA advocacy group or ambassadors program. So interested parents, staff, community members, and I think it would be great to get students involved. Laura and I were kind of talking about TIMA Parlay, maybe would be a good place to start. Whether we do it at like a parent plug-in or a staff meeting, I think it's just important just to kind of get the main goals out there, like and the fact that it is important just to talk about it, I think, so that the community is aware of who we are. So many people I talk to do not know that TIMA is a public charter school. They really don't know much about it, but they've heard great things about it. So, communicating our stories, sending, I thought we could send notes, thank you notes, congratulatory notes to, elected officials or our stakeholders, financial stakeholders. Maybe we have the students design some stationery, just little things. I think that would go a long way. Laura and I were actually talking about just identifying some class projects or the project-based learning showcases to engage parents or stakeholders. Even I, as a parent, I think our teachers do an excellent job of communicating what the kids are doing each week, and I could just be missing it. But if we could better say, this is what we're working on, this is the project PBL showcase that we're working on this quarter or whatever, and communicate that to parents so that we can, because sometimes I'm like, I don't know, what are they? I tell people that they do project-based learning, but I'm like, well, I don't know. I can't think of a specific maybe project that they've been doing. And that may be my fault, but anyway, we could have an ambassador program, give tours of the school to future parents, stakeholders, elected officials, and then, of course, provide public comment at the Board of Education meetings in support of charter schools. And the GCSA suggested that we do that maybe 5 times a year, just to kind of be present. And so this is it. As As I close, I would be remiss not to touch on Love Your People, which is another reason that our family loves TEMA. Character development and accountability to these valued traits is of high value at TEMA, and it's huge in our family. And I want you to know that as a leader in advocacy for TEMA, these traits are at the forefront of my mind, and I ask that you hold me accountable to that. Officially trained or not, we are all advocates and ambassadors for TEMA. We all have something at stake here, or we wouldn't be here, right? So as we advocate for TEMA, may we all remember that we each have a purpose and something to contribute. We are better together, and may we always lead with love and kindness, being patient and honest throughout the process, encouraging one another along the way. And in humility, may we all recognize that we are imperfect people and apologize and forgive when necessary. And lastly, may we always be thankful and abundant in our expression of all of it. So thank you all for your time and patience with me as I present all this to you, and thank you for the many ways in which you advocate for TEMA.
Thanks so much for being part of this program and representing the school. It means a lot.
Thank you. I'm excited for it. It'll be more natural for me the more I the more I do it.
Any questions?
Yeah, you get to wrap up with the
Oh, great.
legislative
Well,
priorities
sure.
first.
So, a nice segue.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. So part of advocacy work obviously means being mindful of what the other sort of umbrella organization is doing. And the Georgia Charter Schools Association has some legislative priorities, just want everyone to be mindful of. They are for sure looking to continue to get more money for facilities. They understand that that's a big cost for all charter schools. That if you're operating a charter school, it's usually either in a rented or leased facility, or you're having to figure out something for construction. So they're looking for more money and to get that placed in the overall budget, and looking for the legislators to pass that. One of the things that I know is sort of a local conversation that happens at times is there has been some legislation introduced so that local authorizers have to tell charter schools how they're spending the administrative money that they take. As everyone might recall, to operate a charter school with local authorization means that we do get the support of the local authorizer through some services, but they always take 3% off the top. And so what some charter schools have said is, well, tell me how you're spending that 3%. So I will tell you right now, my concern is if an authorizer has to go through the process of telling you how they spend the money, that means that they are able to catalog every cost that they are maybe perhaps not using that money for. And we have seen where our local authorizer and others will charge for services that are not covered by those costs. Everybody follow me in that? Plus the cost of accounting for the cost of, right, yes, absolutely. So I have mixed emotions about this. I certainly would like to know how some of the money is spent, but I know that there are other times where we receive services and support that we don't have to know to every dollar where that goes. We know that we get above the 3% that they're charging us. Does that make sense? But we'll see where it goes. It's in the hands of legislators. I'm sure everything is fine. Liable usage of letters of insurance. This is potentially for Laura and I were actually trying to rabbit trail this earlier today, but I think it has to do with authorization and just letters of assurance to continue to operate while perhaps a charter renewal is being voted on. And of course, always looking for charter schools to get fully funded based on their enrollment. Is that it?
Yep, and then we'll go to your normal
Sure, go
report.
straight into
Yep,
the
there we
report.
go.
Thanks.
Boom.
All right. Quickly, some student successes. Thanks everyone for making time to be here. We have 3 projects of ours that are advancing to the Georgia State Science and Engineering Fair that is in Athens. Of those 3 projects, that's 7 students. They and their parents will be going. very soon. We're excited to see what the outcome of that is. For those of you that don't know, I'm shocked, but our modern band was highlighted on a local news affiliate. And then from that really amazing segment, the lead guitarist of Journey, his wife, someone sent that to her while she was getting her hair done in Atlanta. She picked up the phone and called us and invited our band members and their parents to come to the show. We were stage right, so we were right there. Kids could see what music techs were doing, what it takes, the 40 people it takes to get 6 people up on stage. It was really amazing. They comped 86 seats for us, which was remarkable given the cost of tickets and where we were. It was really a great show. And then after that, the promoter gave all the kids and the staff members and the parents that went t-shirts, and then 2 signed albums, one for the teacher and then one for the school. So we have that. It was really great. The really nice thing too, 7 of the students that were at that concert got on a bus the very next morning to travel to Atlanta to meet with legislators to talk about how school can be different. So it's a really amazing experience. They had a really fantastic 48 hours. And then of course we have gallery walks happening right now in 2nd grade, art in the sky. So students are creating art that's sort of an outcome of what they're working on as part of their problem-based learning unit. There's really some great things that are happening there. School-wide successes for the first time. I think we've had 100% of our staff recommit, saying that they want to come back. Given all the challenges that we know can happen with staffing, that was really very nice to see that staff members are committed to remaining. One of the things that helps make a school great is when you have a consistency of teachers providing instruction that really understand how to create curriculum and instruct them this way. So that's really great news. We did connect with the Georgia Port Authority. We had a chance to meet with some of the folks there, go on a tour, and then also have some follow-up scheduled where they want to come and visit us and really work deeper on that partnership. So that was a very, very good outcome. And of course, we continue to be very excited about where we are with our Maritime Fund. Part of the reason that you guys have packets and folders is I know that the board is looking for opportunities to connect with folks for potential contributions. We wanted to give you something in your hand that you could talk from. Really quickly too, a lot of folks don't know this, but our underwater robotics class adopted a float through the Global Ocean Biogeochemical Array. So we have this great biochemical float that's out in the ocean right now. It's collecting data. Students get to follow that, see where they are in that. We emphasize a lot of data science here at TEMA, but having the kids know that there's something floating around in the ocean that says TEMA on it, they got very excited about that. And so the program here at TEMA, it's the teachers and the students will access that data and then use that to work with the scientists that are doing that work. So everybody was excited about that. I'm sure you guys saw it.
These are just the highlights. The next one is the actual report.
So you want to just go to the...
You'd go that one? Yeah. There you go.
So we have an opportunity to go and present again to the Savannah Chatham Board in April. And right now they sent us a draft Chevron report. So much like Ms. Adams was talking earlier about the accountability piece for charter schools, it's important for us to be mindful of the metrics that they're looking at and also those areas where we want to continue to make improvements so that when it comes time for discussions around charter renewal or about support and services with Savannah Chatham, that everything is clearly out there about how we're doing. So academic performance in this first domain looks at where we are with state and federal guidelines, looking at how we compare to Savannah Chatham, what our learning environment is, financial management, HR, operational, and then of course where we are with corporate governance.
They gave you those numbers.
They did.
Do you object to any of them? Do you agree with the calculation?
So anything that I've objected to, they've already heard from me, as you might imagine. So they actually were very good about sending us a draft. this is still a draft. It hasn't gone before the Board of Education yet. It's a little premature in the sense that we don't have any academic outcomes to speak from right now. So we don't have any performance data to update
We
this.
do. It's just
Well, yes, so
Sorry.
Board Member Wade is correct.
I
We
know.
absolutely
I'm
have.
not going to believe that.
So, well, no, so we have content mastery scores that are much higher than the school system, and we know that. That, mysteriously, is vacant. It's absent from this particular, it just says NA. But things that, that they presented to us that we could report from, we absolutely did.
Quick question.
Go ahead.
Two of the yellow flags are showing, we got an 80, and it shows 80 to green. What is it, a 79 point something where they rounded up, so we're not technically at 80?
It could be.
Yeah. Financial management, is that 80?
Oh, yes, I see it, yeah. I'll ask about flag color, because it should be green,
Mhm.
just based on, I'm a big fan of blue, actually, not just the TEMA, but I think it's a great color. And I want as many blue flags as possible, but I'll ask, since it does say 80. And I will say too, we have details behind all of these. Laura, do you want to go back to the indicators that we were talking about?
Yeah, so the two circled ones are the ones that we actually did push back on and they changed. So that was these two domains. So they've raised it, 10 points here based on our safety plan. And that was really kind of a miscommunication and or software misalignment. They use a software protocol that we don't use, and that's where they were pushing everything out. So they've adjusted that. And then because they adjusted it, it was late, they lowered it from blue to green because that meant it wasn't a timely submission, but we did get credit for submitting it. So that's those two circles. And then the other learning environment yellow is based on 2022 GMAS, which should be changed when this is a 2023 actual report, or they're going to continue to use NA and also reflect that one student who wasn't in science.
Right, and so let's make sure that we're clear, because what they're talking about is test participation. And you have to score above 95%. We scored 94.2%, and it was one student in 5th grade in the area of science that did not test, and that's what did it. But for all the attorneys in the room, I understand contract language. If you did it or you didn't, we didn't. Green flag, not blue, or yellow flag, not green. That's fine. It's one student. We'll also test 5th grade and 8th grade in science this year, and 5th grade and 8th grade in social studies this year, which we didn't have 8th grade when they tested last year. So that's why one kid brought us down to 94.
Parents need to understand, I don't know if the opt-out testing is still all the rage with the other parents, but they need to understand, like. Make a big deal.
Oh, yeah,
or-
for sure. Yeah, if students are in school but don't test, it can have an adverse
There's a whole
impact.
movement.
Why do they call it a Chevron report? I don't know, unless there's some allegiance to Chevron from years ago that I'm unaware of. But that is just the nomenclature that they use.
There's a chevron right out of the flag.
Yeah.
It had little, like,
Chevron.
it said David Louisiana.
It was a design choice that I think just ended up in a name, and there we go. Areas for growth, again, 94.12%. It was one student. But and here's the thing, and to your point, they're not going to close May Howard if 4 kids don't take the test. Charter schools have different accountability. If you do not participate in something or it has an adverse impact, they literally could say, well, this is an area that you were supposed to improve, you didn't improve, now you're on probation. You have to demonstrate how you're going to make this better. How are you going to make people test? Well, I don't know how you're going to do that, right? So there are considerations that we have for accountability that are very different than other public schools. We just have to be mindful of it We have to be able to speak to the things that we're doing to improve and make things better. I make sure as many kids as possible get us above the 95. And actually, let me say, we also gave them some feedback too, because the way that the scoring was listed did not make it seem like one student in one area would have such an adverse impact. We were thinking, based on the way it was written, they were looking at overall scoring for us, which was like 98% of our kids take the test. In elementary school, 99% of our kids in middle school took the test. So we're thinking, we're great. No, they go subject by subject, grade by grade. And if any of them are less than, do you see the accountability that's different for us? Right.
The difference is that those schools are also getting the marks, right? They're also tracking that data. They're just not under contract to open for different rules.
That's right.
And so when we look at the district comparisons, I bet we're doing.
They're
better.
93%
This is
in
what-
some. Yeah. Yeah.
What's that telling you
Do better.
though? But it's not giving
How
you,
many
it's not,
different-
but it's not giving you it's not like helping you improve anything, it's just a freaking number.
But it's a number that we will track and make improvements
That's
on.
what you tell parents.
Sure, yeah.
Someone has a bunch of stupid numbers that we have to show, there's accountability, and that's it. But it's not helping anybody, it's not changing anything, it's not delivering different outcomes. No varying.
And participation in particular, you're right. That's one of those things where, we can incentivize testing, we can share why we think it's important for kids to test, remind people to get a good night's rest, all of those things. Ultimately, it is the responsibility of the parents to bring their kids to tests, and then we have to track that metric. You're right. And then, as we discussed before about the independent audit, having material weaknesses 2 years in a row has meant that we have some areas for financial controls that we're making progress on, having those monthly meetings now, ensuring that there's a way for us to work closely with the district and the finance department and make sure that we are tracking those. That is going to be part of the improvement plan for being able to respond to any of those concerns in chat.
So as you know, I have shown this once, I believe it was in the November meeting. We're working on aggregating metrics for a dashboard so that this report can just be, quick number glance aside from the anecdotal stories. So we're slowly collecting data and what those metrics look like. We don't have the first two, that's why they're in gray. Our internal growth targets, we set the ambitious goal of 75% or greater growth. And you can see we're at 50% school-wide math and 47% ELA. That's a 5-year goal. So that gives us something to chip away at over the next 5 years. And then here we're green in compliance with the Georgia DOE STEAM continuum. There's a whole 16 categories of evidence that we check to make sure that we're in compliance with, and that includes the curriculum design that our faculty does. Student culture, the two that we're able to track right now are attendance and demographics. Actually, retention is at 100%, so we can change that to green now that we've run the lottery. Monitored student behavior. We've come up with these two description metrics. I'm working with our counselor to make sure that those are the most accurate representation to measure this, but that way we can show, what level of students are kind of generally within our behavior guidelines. Out of school suspension. Then our stakeholder support category, our wait list, there is a lottery slide later on, but we do have a wait list of 169 students right now after the lottery was run. Philanthropy, the goal here is to show support of active members of the community. So it's a little bit of a tough data point to track. That's something that Ms. Fleming and I are working on. And then community engagement and family engagement. We're looking at proxies for room parents just to show that we have active support. And the goal and intention of this is to have a story that's not just the CCRPI numbers, that we can continue to craft our narrative as we get in front of these audiences with our ambassadors and advocacy groups. And then on this talent one, we have staff retention at 100%. not having open positions means that we really don't have a pipeline, although we can come up with a way to start cultivating that. We have to actively have a position open in order to track it. Maybe we start to list the number of calls we get about, do you have open positions?
And I do want to say just briefly about that, we are currently hosting a student teacher from Georgia Southern, and I had the opportunity to write a letter of support to Savannah State this weekend for them to add elementary education back as a program to their Department of Ed. So we're looking for opportunities for advocacy, looking for ways that we can continue to grow a pipeline of educators, not just at TEMA, but in the community. And so we'll keep doing that work.
And we also have a school touring next week to understand a little bit more about the way that we do STEAM as well. So those are some other metrics we can include in this portion. Finance, working here as part of the tightened internal controls to get some metrics that we think will be relevant to flag to the board. Facilities, that'll be something we start to track in the upcoming years, how adequate are our facilities and what does our funding look like towards a new one. So that's the dashboard. I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, and then, as I said earlier, Maritime Fund update. This is, again, we're very, very excited for where we are. Obviously, we have a little bit more left, and then we're looking for any direct support of that. We had a great night at Front Porch Improv on February 4th. Brought in about $1,200. They were very generous for us. All the ticket sales came straight back to us that night, and they're big supporters of our work. Bingo night is this Friday night. Everyone is excited about that, to see how that goes. We haven't done that. So we'll see what kind of outcome you get. And of course, fishing tournament, you want to talk a little bit about?
Yeah, we've got an excited committee on the fishing tournament. I am semi-chairing that with no expertise, but I have a great team behind me here. And we're looking at the weekend of April 15th and 16th. Savannah Boathouse has offered to donate the space. So that would be on the 16th. We have a cornhole tournament and a couple of different categories for fishing, but it stands to be a great event, and I think we have some good traction in the fishing community. So,
very excited. Updates from operations. We started a policy review committee this year with some of our colleagues who really want to kind of dive a little deeper into our handbooks, and so they're going to be looking at things like our language about the dress code, how we're doing on cell phone use, all of those policies that we have that can sometimes be a little sticky, that we want them to have some insight into and some voice in how we're working. Our athletic seasons for the spring have started. Soccer, we had games on, there was a scrimmage last week, and then we had games on Saturday. We won both the boys and the girls soccer game, and baseball is this Wednesday night. So we had a game last week. I think that was also a scrimmage, and then we have a first season game happening this week.
Their home soccer and baseball games.
So all the soccer games are at the Jennifer Ross Complex on Sally Mood, and all the baseball games are at the Paulson Complex, which is on Skidaway. So there's a lot of excitement at a TEMA athletic event. I recommend you come out. We get a lot of support from staff and parents. This being our inaugural athletic season, it's been incredible to see the camaraderie and the team spirit, but just all the participation from families and the community. We get grandparents, we get people that are residents that just have found out that we have sports and they want to follow. It's been pretty great. Obviously, with facilities, I'm thankful for everyone working on how we're continuing to try to tackle some of our issues. We are executing on our $50,000 budget for the growth strategy from the grant that we received, and then strategic planning wraps up on March 7th.
April 11th.
April 11th is exactly what it says.
Yeah.
I need my glasses.
That's right.
So we are launching, as you know, we have 2 spring intersessions. One aligns to Savannah Chapel Spring Break and one doesn't. And so what we're excited about is looking specifically at using what's usually used for summer programs or summer intervention. Instead of waiting for summer school while we have students in the year, let's go ahead and do remediation now. So all of that is serving about 60 students with 9 faculty members. We're going to run one bus that is going to go a pretty big route. It's still the hub stops, but they're going to make, I think, 4 or 5 stops that day to try to get as many kids on that need to. And then it's 4 days for some intensive remediation for those students that we feel can make the growth that's needed. And we had the money for summer programming, so instead of doing that in that way, we're doing it like this. This is part of the rationale for having a more balanced calendar.
Is that all grades, spread K?
2nd through 8th.
And students have already been notified?
Absolutely. Yes.
I'd love to see some data on
We
that.
are, it's almost a daily conversation for us.
Awesome opportunity.
Yeah, we're very excited to see the growth that those students are going to make and see what the outcomes are and see if this really makes the impact that we expect that it will. I will say too, running a balanced calendar means sometimes we're here when other schools are not in session. So this last Monday, a week ago from today, it was a federal holiday. Savannah Chatham had a planning day, and we were like, well, what's going to be our attendance rate on that day? Even on that day, we had a 92% attendance rate. So overall, when you look at what the metrics are for our average daily attendance and for our truancy rate, as I shared in the last board meeting, we are the lowest in the district for truancy. And we average around 96% attendance every day, which is pretty incredible. Growth strategy grant, you want to talk a little bit about?
Sure. So this was the phase 2 that we received through our work with Georgia Charter School Association's Strategic Growth Initiative program. What we've done is contracted with Bellwether, who was the consultant we got support in the first phase with, to help some organizational design work to piggyback on really just codifying a lot of our processes. So we know we have something special here, but what does that look like and how can we, maintain that?
Yeah, we talk a lot about dying in a Friday park bench. But it's just the reality of what happens to this organization if anyone that has helped leading it isn't here tomorrow. And that might sound sobering, but it's a real thing that we consider all the time because we want the success of the school to go into perpetuity regardless of who's here. And so making sure that we have some very clear things that can be replicated by anyone who is sitting here matters to us. That's part of that big work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was a big takeaway from phase 1 is just, this is a way that we can benefit the organization right now that could also support future replication. So we thought that was a worthwhile use. And also just the grant terms, it's not something we could, pay someone who is already here to do. So this way we can get that work done in a timely manner. The other area we decided to dedicate funds to is public relations. So we are moving ahead next week in starting a redesign of our website, and that will be fully funded through the grant. The back end that we use right now is Joomla. It's no longer supported, so it's on a tenuous day-to-day existence, and we have no one that can update it or support it. So this is also something that's super time sensitive, but we wanted to get through registration first. So that'll be coming soon. The 2 in gray, redesigning marketing materials, and the LMS, which is learning management system, and micro-credential platforms are things we're still researching. We do have the flexibility to...
Laura, I'm sorry, Robert. I'm going to have to keep you for a few more minutes. You are my, can we just move?
Yeah, let's skip.
I got to leave.
If we can.
Yeah, let's
just
skip.
Interject for a minute, we do.
Mhm.
You're gonna get daughter to dance.
January financials, Joe could not be here tonight. These financials will be posted on our website tomorrow. A couple of bullet points that we can mention is that we have received $40,000 in grants that we didn't budget for, so that's a positive one. We are $250,000 under budget for income. We are $54,000 over budget in fundraisers and donations. We are over in budget in transportation by $13,000, which is nearly a monthly outpatient issue, and that will balance out for our contract by the end of the year. Salaries are under budget by $142,000. Instruction is under budget by $72,000. Rent is under budget by $1,700. Operational expense is under budget by $84,000. We are still waiting for the official mid-year budget from Chatham County. So hopefully by our next board meeting, we will have a clearer view on payroll for all of that. And you can ask me questions, but I cannot guarantee that I could answer them the way that Joe does, so I apologize. So I do.
I'll second.
And then everybody has received the minutes. I need
To approve the budget.
January.
That was first.
Julie May, Robert Morris. The minutes were distributed. If nobody has any questions or changes, I would like to get a vote for the minutes. So moved.
Second.
Okay. We have gone ahead and should close on Monday, the property at 711 Butler Avenue. This was a motion that was already approved at the last session. It's just an update. And I just need to ratify the acceptance of resignation of Andrea Deshazo, special education teacher for health reasons, and the acceptance of hiring of Emily Morgan as special education teacher and Stephen Nenny as film and media arts program teacher. So if I could get a motion for the hiring. So moved.
Second.
That's it. Good to go, Robert.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All in favor?
All
in favor?
Yeah.
We're all in favor, all in favor.
Driven by Robert.
One more thing.
That's for sure.
All right, we'll take it back to Laura.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I'm glad that, yeah. So, we can still move that money around, but we've committed to the two that are not in gray. This is to the fiery car crash point. This is kind of the objective of the work with the consulting firm. So they're going to try and, get us more to the explicit side of things that don't affect the culture here. And that's something they're very cognizant of. Some dates, if you want to put those on your calendar. Some of them we've already gone through. This Thursday morning, we'll have a parent plug-in around STEAM curriculum. The bingo night's coming up. And again, the April. I actually thought I fixed this one. It's April, not March. And then here are some of the upcoming sports games. That's all we had.
Any questions?
Yeah.
I can answer.
And anybody who runs on a Gmail email can subscribe to this email calendar if that's easier, because I know you're all on everything. So. Any questions of Peter or Laura? Good job. Thank you. Appreciate it. Do you want to do a quick lottery?
Yeah, you're still up. You're actually, you're the first bullet. Yeah. This is an update on the process. If anybody needs a refresher on that, but today was actually the day that parents must provide all registration materials. And at the end of today, we're at a 169 student wait list. And you can see in the chart kind of how it was dispersed by grade. Here's where I fixed it. So yeah. So we will be coming to you, at the March board retreat or the March meeting with kind of a final framework for you to approve to set the strategic direction. This is a work in progress. This is the outcome of our last meeting. And then these are some of the strategic themes that we're working on bucketing into those big goals. So we're looking, at these 5 key areas to try and create objectives around directing our future success.
been a very engaged process, right?
It has, yeah, it's been a great group. Mm-hmm. Sure. And then,
Friends of Tima update, all of the members for board for Friends of Tima have been identified and listed, and that I think is being filed with the IRS this week. So we can start, accepting more funds, to our maritime fund that weren't accessible for us before. Board calendar, March 27, April 24, May 22nd, and June 26th. Those will be the four remaining ones for this year. Budget reading, June 12th, as a separate standalone session, and a second one on June 26th, together with board meeting. Whole board training this Saturday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. with our fellow charter schools. And it will be held at Susan King Taylor on Bull Street. And then board training is completely available on Canvas. We have March, April, May, 4 months left to complete our training for everybody. So whenever you can get that accomplished, the sooner the better would be great. And going back to Peter's little chevron flagging report, in terms of green or blue.
Should be a flag report.
yeah.
It's a factor. So also, Ron and Cora, I will send you instructions to where you can re-certify yourselves for leadership training, credentialing. But you have to do about 25 steps, answer one question, and you're good to go. I'll send you. We have no sign up for public comments, and then I'd like to open it up to everybody or anyone who has any questions or any topics they would like to bring up. Peter, you and your team are doing an amazing job. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, everyone. See you, some of you on Saturday.